I'm gonna have a blast with this one, man. Are you feeling anxious, or is that conviction? I'm here with Brother Buck. We're gonna talk about the difference between the two. I'm Cam Smith. This is the Apostle Pulse. All right. We made it.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
It is the weekend.
Very, very happy one.
Very happy weekend. I'm glad it's the weekend. I'm glad to be here with you, Brother Buck. I cannot tell you how long I've wanted. It's like since I've started the show, I've wanted you here.
Well, I'm thankful for the invitation to be here, and more than happy you felt me worthy to be on here.
Man, absolutely. Let's just bring those mics up close to us because I don't want to feel like I'm coming to you from Mars today. Thanks for everybody tuning in. I'm excited about what God is doing over here. I just got to take a minute and I've got to read my favorite comment from last week. It's from this guy named Buck Ewing. I just gotta read it. It was my favorite. I gotta pick my favorites, right? It says, best episode yet. Okay, so let's talk about number one, what we're talking about. Last week was the old-fashioned altar. We talked about, does it have to be the old-fashioned altar? Does it, because I've heard it all my life. Does it have to, it happened at an old-fashioned altar. Okay, but we got a younger generation coming in that's wondering, do I have to jump in a time machine and go back and visit that old-fashioned altar? And then Brother Buck Ewing, my favorite commenter, who I just decided to have on the show with me today. You never know what would happen if you leave a great comment. Go ahead and leave a comment. You might just end up on the show. I mean, that's kind of what we've determined. You said, best episode yet. Explanation on what the old-fashioned altar needs to be in this generation. So, appreciate the comment.
You're more than welcome.
But no, seriously, thank you for your comments. Each and every one of you, thank you for those that are doing the work that we can't see on the other end. I can see your comments, but I can't see the shares necessarily. On Instagram, I can see the shares, if you share a reel or something, which, by the way, we've got a lot of fun real content coming your way. But with that being said, thank you for those that share this show with others and tell people word of mouth. I can't see that. There's no analytics that I can pull up on Spotify over that, but the purpose of this, again, is to pursue the heart of God. You just kick back, get some understanding. We call it relaxed reinforcement. You just want to hang out and just have a good time. I don't think Bible study should be boring.
No.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to be falling asleep to, the most interesting thing in the world.
Exactly. If you can't have fun with the word, what can you have fun?
Exactly. If you can't have fun, the Bible is hilarious sometimes. The Bible is out. I'll never forget when I came across that passage where Jesus walks up to the fig tree and was just like, die.
Exactly. Yes.
Just die. And I was like, bro, Jesus has that authority, but why that? And then you get to the segment where all the Pharisees and everybody just kind of huddled up together, and he asks them, well, under what authority does John talking about John the Baptist operate in? And they're like, well, we can't tell you, because if we said it was of God, you're going to say, why didn't you believe? And if we say it's of man, you're going to say, well, why didn't you believe it's of God? So we can't tell you. And it's there's this whole dynamic of Jesus is talking about the fruit and all of this stuff, and he's bearing fruit. And then he looks at him and is like, and that's why I can't explain to you, because you're just so tense. You don't know how to kick back and understand simple things. You don't know how to be simple-minded. You might be older, but your heart and your mind, your faith is gotten older too, and that shouldn't happen. We have to have the faith of a child, the heart of a child coming into this. So then you walk up to the tree and you see that it's dead. So not only was it hilarious that Jesus walked over to the tree, but now you understand why it was funny.
Exactly.
It's okay, this is you. You're that fig tree. And I'm like, bro, I'm the fig tree right now. Bro, I've never felt like a fig tree more in my life.
Exactly.
It's crazy. But also, I got a comment over on YouTube. Pray for me, Brother Buck. I got to say this name. I'm going to butcher this name. Should I spell it or should I pronounce it?
Oh, you got to go for the gusto. You got to pronounce it.
Okay, so on the last video edition that we had of entry 6, does it have to be the old-fashioned altar? Thank you for those tuning into the video edition, by the way. Thank you. Evie Guvy, thanks for tuning in. Just great name. She said, come on with it now. We want relationship, not religion. So thanks for your comment. That's great stuff. Keep it rolling. Tell your friends. We're having a good time over here at the Apostle Pulse. And if you don't believe us, we got shirts to prove it. Get this mic up out of the way. Look at this. We got shirts to prove it. Okay. Can you give me a little backstory about what you told me coming into this, Brother Buck?
Well, it was just really a spur of the moment deal.
Spur of the moment.
Exactly. We talked about it and everything, and it's just, I'm like, oh Lord, I really don't know what really to do when you ask me, and I'm like, Lord, I got to pray.
Yeah.
And I started praying. The Lord led me to some stuff, and it just one thing led to another, and I think, hopefully, with the Lord's work, we can get it done.
Hey, we can get it done, and in style too.
That's right.
In style too. He showed up with a bag, and he said, I got something for you. He's like, I hope you're not upset with me, and I have no idea what I'm about to unbox. I have no idea what I'm about to like open right here in this moment. And I look, and lo and behold, it is tap merch. Very first, I mean, this is going to be a collector's item one day.
That's
the
right.
very, very first tap shirt. And I appreciate you for that.
Anytime.
I appreciate you for that. This man rocks. I'm excited to see what God has for us in this show. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. Let's dive right into it.
Let's go.
Let's do this. So I want you to just kind of talk about, before this, we were talking a little bit about anxiousness. We were talking a little bit about conviction.
Yeah.
We're talking a little bit about the difference between the two.
That's right.
We talked about the fear of God. We talked about all these things. These are foundational things for us.
Yeah.
You cannot progress without that understanding of what these things are.
Yeah, this is the elementary of as a Christian, a believer of God. This is the elementary footsteps you have to have before you can progress, in my eyes, further.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and just can you give us a definition of conviction?
Yeah, sure.
Because I know you had a few coming into this, and for those that are maybe new to Bible study, I know we kind of have our demographic seems to be either young people or people coming into this or people that have come back to this. We invite every age group, but a lot of you that have asked questions about like how to study the Bible, you can feel the Holy Ghost in just looking at like Webster's dictionary.
Yes.
I'm convinced. So what you got?
And speaking of Webster Dictionary, I'm going to go to Webster Dictionary.
Oh, let's go. What do you know?
Conviction is a noun.
Okay.
It is, and I'm going to go to the third definition of it is the act of convincing a person of error or compelling the admission of the truth. And going to the subsection of it is a state of being convinced of error or compelling to admit the truth.
Yeah.
And to me, conviction is not a thing of you did wrong. Here is your punishment.
Yeah.
It is just like Webster. It's a saying. Okay, I did wrong.
Yeah.
What do I have to do now to fix what I've done wrong?
So it's not so much like you would say the contrast of that being condemnation.
Exactly.
It's not condemnation in that here's what you did wrong. I'm just going to beat you over the head with it until that you just realize that there is no hope.
Exactly. Conviction is not nothing to be scared of. It is to me it is God's mercy and love saying, I know you've done wrong. Let me show you what you've done wrong.
Yeah.
And let's get you back on the right track in order to where you can progress further in me.
Yeah. Okay. So that right there is, I think, an excellent definition of when we say conviction. That's what we're jumping into. So my mind immediately goes to Romans 8, and it talks about being so Romans 8 talks a lot about God's law. Right. It talks a lot about being judged under the sentence or feeling guilt under God's law. But it's that being the opposite of you would say like justification or something of that nature. So Paul declares that there is now no condemnation in Christ Jesus in Romans 8:1.
Exactly.
There's none of that. I want you to feel bad about yourself, and here's exactly what you need to do to make sure you realize there's no hope, like I said earlier. But you're telling me that now under Christ Jesus, we have this, which is called conviction. We're getting you back on track.
Exactly.
And I mean, just like that, I think we've kind of outlined the difference between what, us feeling that constant guilt and then recognizing the moving of the Holy Ghost.
Exactly.
So what is there any other definitions you got for me over there about conviction?
The only one I've found is a firmly held belief. That is the only other that now I dug for what I could find is the only other one is a firmly held belief.
Firmly held. So it's something that's personal.
Exactly.
So you have the conviction that comes from God externally, and then you have that you hang on to and you possess.
Yes.
That's a powerful.
Exactly.
That's a powerful thing. Okay.
Very powerful.
So with that being said, okay, we've got conviction. We're talking about conviction. We've defined not only conviction but the opposite of conviction, which is condemnation.
Yes.
But we want to talk about, okay, contrasting the two. We want to. Then there's anxiety. I think which is, and I say anxiety and not fear, for a reason. But we're going into, okay, you just outlined that this is something God gives us as far as conviction. It's a firmly held belief. Okay, what would be an example of conviction, recognizing conviction instead of anxiety? Because a lot of people, they recognize their triggers. Yes. I've got, my breathing changes. I can't function. Some people lock up. I think a lot of us has found that out, where like somebody's talking to you and it brings back something you've been through before, and you don't even realize that you've been triggered, and all of a sudden they start feeling anxious, just like that, and they lock up. So, what is an example of that as opposed to conviction? You think what's a good example?
For conviction, for me, an example for me personally would be like if I said something that was not hurtful to you personally, you didn't feel nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And to me though, the more I got to thinking about it, the more it hurt. The more I was stirred in my spirit. I was pricked in my heart, as it says in Acts 2:37, when they was talking to the apostles, when Peter was talking to the day of Pentecost.
Yeah.
Before the day of Pentecost. If it hurts me if it stirs my spirit, to me that is conviction.
Okay.
That is my whole that is God saying, what you said was not quite what you really needed to be saying.
Yeah.
You didn't use it in the right format, or you used it in your flesh.
Okay. All right. So but that may feel like too the same thing that anxiety might induce. So you're feeling that in your spirit, but that breathing still changes. All of that's going on.
Yes.
So our heart's pricked, which is, I think, very, very important, because we discern that when we say pricked, what do you think we're talking about right here?
To me, the word pricked is not a. Some people would tie it to like a broken heart type stuff, but a pricked is when you get pricked, it kind of alerts you.
Not only alerts you, but it leaves a little bit of a sting.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what pricked. I think they're trying to say in 2:37 is when he was talking to them is, hey, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or you did something wrong.
Right.
But it kind of he's just. And it says now that when they heard this, they were pricked in their hearts and said unto Peter and to the rest of the apostles, men and brethren, what shall we do?
Okay, all right. So that's important to highlight right there.
Exactly.
There's two things happening. Okay, they're hearing this, they're pricked in their heart. Okay, and then there's a switch right there. I think the switch is the difference that we're talking about. Let's so hypothetically, let's read this like it was not conviction and it was anxiety for a minute. Now, when they heard this, they were pricked in their hearts and said in Peter, we're doomed.
Exactly.
There's no hope. And they walk off leaving the promise of Pentecost.
Yes.
They leave that. Acts 2 does not have quite the outpouring that we know today
Exactly.
because it was anxiety. There's a lot of people that criticize apostolic of doctrine, and they say, well, it's just an emotional high. It's nothing that's based off of any true conviction. It's just based off of, hey, a preacher making you feel anxious from behind a pulpit because of the volume of his voice or something like that. We're just fear mongering, or we're just, something of that nature. Okay. But true conviction leads you to solutions.
Exactly.
True conviction is going to lead you. So you're highlighting something that's important. Men and brethren, what shall we do? That's what Nicodemus asks in John 3.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Now, whether or not they do anything with that, it's up to them.
Yes.
But then you fast forward to the book of Acts, it says, and then it says that there were many added to the church as such as should be saved. And we know that it is the will of the Lord that all sinners should come to repentance, that all should be saved. Unfortunately, because we live in free will and people make their own decisions, that, the ball's in their court, but that enhances our relationship with the Lord, and that we choose him over everything else when we do make that correct decision out of conviction and not based off of anxiety or an emotional high.
That's right.
So those two, so you're telling me that the difference there is that it led them to a solution. And it's getting them, I like what you said, getting back on track.
Because to me, anxiety would drive me, my personal self. I can't speak for everybody, but if I had anxiety, I'm going to pull away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna seclude myself from what I need the most.
Yeah.
That's what anxiety would do for me.
Yeah.
And conviction, it draws me closer to the things that I need. That I need as far as a spiritual walk with God.
I love that. I love that. That's a great thing to say, because it's not so much the path that, well, okay, so let me make sure I'm getting this correct, because we talk a lot about alignment. It's where you align and associate with. If you were just basing it off of, we talk about feelings, how facts don't care about your feelings don't care about your facts, and how if we get caught up in our feelings that it can lead us down a wrong road. But when we're talking about feelings, I think we're talking about things that we are discerning in our spirit. So we're discerning something. There's a discernment process that's happening in me, but what you're telling me is the trajectory that I'm set on is what defines what I'm truly feeling. So if I find myself in betterment, if I find myself in deeper revelation, understanding, a closer relationship with Jesus based off of those discernment, those things that are pricking at my heart, that would be defined as conviction. Whereas if my heart's being pricked constantly, over and over and over again, and I just feel weighed down by this whatever my spirit's picking up on, well, then now I'm dealing with something that is not of God.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because the Bible says that the Lord is not the author of confusion.
Oh,
so
I like that.
There can only leave one more person, the devil, that can have confusion.
Okay.
Because so he is. We all know he was a fallen angel.
Yeah.
So the devil has many tricks up his sleeve, and he can use similar, not the same, similar tricks. He could throw little things in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I'm not saying that we're not where we need to be, but if you're doing something and you happen to slip a little bit,
yeah,
he can throw multiple stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
And it would be like, Lord, what am I doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm reading my Bible, I'm in the prayer room every church service.
Talk about it.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
And that's where the devil thrives in anxiety.
Yes, absolutely.
To where, and if he can wear you down on the anxiety side, he can dull the sense of conviction, because it'd be like, Lord, what am I doing wrong? I've stumbled here, stumbled there, stumbled on this, stumbled on that, and it may not be the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people say, oh, the Lord really has something on me. The Lord really got something out for me.
Yeah.
And it's really not the Lord out there saying, I'm gonna make you stumble. I'm gonna make you do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tear you down.
Yeah.
It's the devil saying, oh Lord, they're getting more sensitive. They're getting more. They're getting more. How can I say that right? Okay, they're getting a deeper experience with God. How can I stop it? How can I throw a stumbling block in them to bring them back down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, that's where the constant people say, oh, the Lord's convicting me every day. He's you can be the greatest prayer warrior in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But the devil's still going to try to throw something at you to try to change to.
He's going to try to condemn you.
Exactly.
His name means accuser. Accuser. And that's what he'll do is he'll accuse you of things that to continuously weigh you down. And they may be true things.
Exactly.
That's what I've noticed is they may be absolutely true things that the devil is convicting you of, or not convicting, but inducing anxiety about. He's giving you this anxiety. He's weighing you down. He's burdening you with all of these attacks of, well, you see that little flaw right there. It's like just opening wounds and just picking at wounds essentially.
Exactly.
And when we're in the process of healing, that's the only thing he can do is pick at the wounds. But when God heals, he restores.
Exactly.
When God heals, he heals completely. So it's a matter of our healing is stronger. Your spiritual white blood cells, if you will, are stronger, are more powerful than any lie the devil could try to inject into you.
Exactly.
And so you said you could be the most prayed up and the devil's still going to pick on you. I think the devil's going to pick on you because you're more prayed up, because it's the only thing he can do is to pick at those wounds. What I find interesting is Philippians 4:6 when it says, be careful for nothing. Be careful for no thing. You think of just the wording right there. Some I know we're KJV men, but you got some translations that say be anxious for nothing. We don't, but the meaning I think is interesting because people care too much about too many things. And so the takeaway is to not be anxious or worried about anything. I think that's because if I'm to be careful for nothing, the opposite's also true. That I'm not supposed to be anxious or worried about anything. The word careful, according to this, it's saying that in the KJV was used to mean full of care. And literally, it's careful, full of care, and being burdened with worry or anxiety, not attentive or caution. As it's used today, it's being just continuously pushed down by this weight that seems like it's going to crush you. But Paul's telling believers not to let those things overwhelm them. And I think that's what we're talking about is the pressure, the overwhelming things that don't lead us closer to God. Because if God purposefully puts a trial in your life, that trial's there to refine you.
Exactly.
That trial's there to not discourage you. That trial's there to encourage you. That trial's there to, over time, it might not be encouraging in the moment. You might feel discouraged, but ultimately to refine your faith.
Yes. That's perfect.
Because it seems to me that, we're not saying you should be careless. You should be concerned about your soul. You should take eternity seriously enough to care about the things that matter. So care about those small sins. You mentioned, it's just like over time, it's just like the devil chips away at you. But the way he wedges in is when you have those small sins, those things that you don't take care of, those things you don't address to your brother, those things you don't address with your sister in Christ, those things that you just let get under your skin and you're like, we can just pretend it never happened, sweep it underneath the rug. You and I both talked about this beforehand. I'm going to go inside, make that right. If I'm going out to my truck or my car and I put those keys in, conviction is going to tell me to go inside and make it right.
Exactly.
Anxiety is going to tell me if I walk in there and I try to make it right, no one will ever forgive me.
Yes, exactly. Or it's going to say, you're going to be a laughing stock.
Yeah.
You've made yourself as, as the devil would say, you've made yourself, you look like a fool.
Yeah, and then you see right there, the devil's begin to work pride in you because like you're more worried about your self-image than you are making it correct.
Exactly.
And that's biblical idolatry because that's coming between you and God. You're going to let that small sin that you're worried about is going to damage or ruin your reputation. You're going to let that one thing wedge into you and just like, that's what's really going to, and over time it builds and builds and builds, and you begin to see, it's almost like, it's almost like you just begin to hallucinate. You begin to become just unreasonable. You notice a person that sin has chipped away at their life, and they're always anxious. Not to pose judgment on anyone, but just to discern fruit. We've all seen somebody who's just continuously anxious. They tend to be very prideful people. They tend to be people that don't make anything better. They actually make a lot of things worse. And they have a very hard time making friends. They have a very hard time being liked by others. Let alone now they're called to be a light to the world, salt and light. But really, all they're doing is just rubbing salt in everybody else's wounds.
Exactly.
Are we on the same page? Is that what we're understanding?
Exactly. We're pretty much neck and neck.
Yeah. It just seems to me that's. What in your experience? What do you notice? What do you notice with people that are dealing with that kind of thing?
Well, the people that I've seen with anxiety, they become very, very, very reserved. They'll and I'm gonna talk about the church people, and and it's nobody I know.
Yeah,
people I have witnessed going here and there. If they're dealing with any kind of form of anxiety, they may have been a front row sitter. But I'm not talking bad about them, but they may move to the center.
Yeah,
the center, the center of the.
Talking about the physical building of the church, like they were there early, sitting front row, worshiping, and then all of a sudden they kind of creep their way back.
Exactly.
And they're trying to. There's something amazing spiritually happening right there. Is now you're hiding behind other people who are moving up.
Exactly.
And you're letting someone else out praise you. But I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm going to let you finish your thought.
And they'll stay right here. Well, I'm covered. I've got people around me, just like you said. I've got people around me. And I can blend in. Yeah, and just kind of draft off, what they're doing. I can coast with them.
Just coast,
and be fine. Mm-hmm. And then others, and they may not be a fireball.
Yeah.
As we call them, I call them fireballs.
Fireballs, yeah.
But you may see them. They have been active.
Yeah.
But yet you may see them kind of wean off of their of being church active.
Absolutely, yeah.
They may start missing one or two Bible studies or a prayer meeting here and there, and they just start, and it goes back to the number one cope for anxiety. Most people do is to draw in a shell.
Yeah.
Altogether, that's the number one cope for a lot of people. They will draw in a shell and try to build fences and protection around. Like, as long as nobody can see me, or I don't be around nobody, I'm good.
Yeah,
and that's why, and that's what I find that the most people. That's my dealings with anxiety.
Yeah,
and myself, I've dealt with it myself, and truthfully, I have done it. I have drawn back in the shell before.
Yeah,
and and it took a lot to get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's effort. You have to commit to it.
Exactly. But once you broke out of it, I'm like, wait a minute. All I did was, more hurt myself than advance myself.
Exactly. It hurt people, including yourself.
Exactly.
If I'm hurt, I'm in self-destruct mode. It's and I'm sure some of that has to do with personality. Some of that has to do, not to mention that now. Not to get off, just as a side note, because I'm burdened for it, but I'm ignorant of a lot of it, of all the medications that go into just this anxiety, and I know there's a fine line between a spiritual condition, a physical condition, a mental illness. I'm not saying mental illness is not real, none of those things, but it's just a matter of there's so much anxiety that people will look for external resources without checking their heart first.
Exactly.
And that's where you begin to see that there may be idols in the tent. There may be idols in the tent when you begin to look for other ways to address your own problems than the altar.
Exactly. And like just like Achan,
Yes, absolutely.
he picked up the Babylonian garment. He picked up the wedges of gold and silver, and he went and hid it.
Yeah.
He hid it. He drew back in. He drew, and I may be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, it's like he drew. He knew he wasn't supposed to do that
Right.
because Joshua plainly told him, "Do
Yeah.
not
Don't
touch
do the
nothing.
thing. Yeah.
This is God's." And when he took it, he went and hid it. He drew it back in his tent into the shell, and he knew he wasn't supposed to do it, so he drew back. The conviction was already there when he touched it. And I'm gonna try to tie it in with this. You can correct me if you can correct me. Do whatever you need to do. And the conviction hit him. He drew back into the shell, and he said, "Oh, I'll just cover it up in my tent where nobody comes with me and my family, and nobody will be the wiser. I can pass it off." And then it turned around and hurt his whole family. When the Lord, when it took when the man of God finally, the Lord told him, you got sin in your camp.
Yeah.
And you see, it hurt the tribe. It hurt the children of Israel. They lost some battles. And when Joshua asked, why have we been losing? He said, you have sin in the camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, when you draw up, when you deal with anxiety, when you're dealing with it, it's not a time to draw up and go away.
Right.
It's a time to say, brethren, sisters, Christians, however you claim to be what you are, I need help. I need you on my right hand, and I need you on my left.
Which is still one of the hardest things you'll probably ever say in your life.
Exactly.
Is I need help.
A human nature never wants to ask for help.
Yeah.
The four-letter word is the hardest. A four-letter word is the hardest word to say.
Yeah.
And a two-letter word is the easiest word to say. Help is the hardest, and no is the easiest.
That's well said. That's good. That's good. That's easy to remember. That's easy to remember is the four-letter word is the hardest, but the two letters the easiest. But it's very true of our human nature. We want to, and I love the imagery of, we want to just, what did you say? Just put ourselves in a shell?
Draw up in a shell.
Draw up in a shell, just hang out there in our shell. And it's really our known world. I think of Saul. I think we're rough on Saul a lot, King Saul in the Old Testament, but he started out good. He had a good run there at the beginning.
Had a wonderful run.
I mean, he had us in the first half, not gonna lie. He's gonna, but he was anointed when he came out from the stuff. It said that's in your KJV Bible. That is what it says. It says he was anointed when he came out from his stuff. What was that? I mean, was it? All we know is he came out from his known world, and then he was anointed. There is something to that. I mean that's, and I'm sure you could do that with any hero of the faith. You do that with Abram coming from the land of Ur. His known world was Ur. You could do that with great men of God over the span of our lives. Even people that we've met and look up to, they have to separate themselves from the known world, because the human nature is to just deal with the familiar, because the familiar is within your control.
Exactly.
You don't have to deal with people. You don't have to deal with other attitudes. You don't have to worry about if you make a mistake, having to make it right. But again, that act in and of itself of just staying there is considered a prideful act.
Yes.
And it's, here we go, anxiety inducing. You think you're in a shell of protection, but you're really in a sanctuary of anxiety.
You're in the crosshairs of fire.
That is exactly right. And so the only thing that's going to get you out of that is what?
Is being around is being around people who can encourage you.
Yeah.
Can uplift you.
Pull you out.
And say, hey, if you need help, call me. You come. You call me. You drive up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
you need that level. I'm gonna call them shields. Just as a reference, you need those shields to where when you say, I am hurt, I am wounded, I need help.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Sure, I'll be right there. They'll put on their armor of God
Yeah, they will.
and say, I'm right here with you. I'll pick you up. I'll help you however you need me to help you. Let's just go forward and get back to where we need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And what they're doing in that moment is they're facilitating that gift of conviction.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
So you'd almost say conviction is the tool that you use to get out of that little space.
Exactly.
Because conviction is, you would say a discernment, like you said earlier. Not only is it something that God gives you to prick at your heart, it's not only, this is what's amazing. Jesus says he stands at the door and he knocks. He's sitting there knocking. But then he tells us, anything you ask in my name, I will do it. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open. So we're knocking and he's knocking.
Exactly.
In the same way that he sends us conviction and he's coming to us with that conviction. He's giving us that gift, for us to bring inside to our known world.
Exactly.
So, but it's not a just, God, you do it all. It's meeting him halfway. It's meeting him at that door.
Yep.
There's some days I'm knocking. There's some days he's knocking.
Right.
And I think that would be a good definition of conviction too, is that knocking process.
Yes.
The doorway right there. It's at the doorway. It's at the mouth of the cave. It's always at those moments of transition. It was at the mouth. Notice God didn't speak to Elijah in the depth of the cave. It was at the mouth. It was at the mouth of the cave. Very much in the same way, when we are filled with the Holy Ghost, it is through that transitional process. It is through our tongue. It's our mouth. It's that place right there, and that it's an unruly place, right? But it's also a place that you also find your spiritual self standing in.
Yes.
I could sit here and I could say I don't need help, and I could just seclude myself back in this doorway or into this cave, or I could cry out to God, and he could speak to me not in the wind, not in the fire, not in the earthquake, but in that still small voice.
Yes.
That is, and like you said, it gets you back on track, and that right there is the nature of conviction.
Yes.
So anybody listening to this that might have a thought, okay, I've been feeling stressed lately. I've been feeling a little under the pressure. Burnout is the word I'm hearing a lot of.
Yes.
I think it's real. I really do. I really do. So we've talked a lot about how would you define anxiety? Just right off. I know we've done a really good job at saying this is the direction, but maybe not so much how would you define it, but when should you define anxiety and call it out? Because I think it helps sometimes to not only call out and say, hey, look, this is what I'm dealing with, but speak authority against it. What are we speaking authority against?
But to me, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm speaking through my little country.
Sure.
Granted, it ain't much there, but it's there.
Oh, I disagree. This has been good.
But when to me, anxiety comes when you're trying to go deeper in either your spiritual life and I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna jump off of biblical. I'm gonna go to the worldly.
Sure.
Just a minute. If just say you've got something that's not right where it needs to be. Just say you've got a job that's not quite where you need to be, in order to be where you want to be.
Yeah, to reach your goals.
Yes. And you find a job, and you find a job that's that's everything you need. You've got the paycheck you need. You've got, just say you need the insurance. You've got insurance you need. You've got everything, and it even works well with your church life. everything. It's perfect. You're off on, you get off on time on Wednesdays. You're off on Sundays. You can,
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays, you can knock doors. You can do whatever, if you're involved in that.
Sure.
But then the devil's going to say, well, wait a minute. This job here was your first job. What's it going to look like if you leave this job here and go to this job?
Okay, so it's the moment before the leap of faith that tells you
Yes.
not to jump.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Or you can do, or it could say, I wouldn't do this. You've been such a good worker here. He can play on the humanity side of it as well, saying, hey, you've been a good work. They give you Employee of the Month last week. You got the donut party last month.
Mm-hmm.
You do such a good work here. Why change?
Yeah.
He'll throw a sense of comfort. If they throw the shell of comfort,
He'll use the
to you.
truth to deceive you.
Exactly.
That's what I want to make sure we highlight just a second, is that the devil's not an idiot.
No.
He is not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think I go back to the serpent in the garden. Hath God said that you would surely, he's quoting the Lord in the moment that he's questioning him.
Exactly.
He will quote your sources. He pays very close attention to your life. He knows the details. He will quote the details you think no one else was paying attention to. And that's where I think some people think that it's the voice of God, is because of the attention to detail. We serve a God of detail. We serve a God that pays attention and feeds the sparrow, and I mean he clothes, he says consider the lilies. Just look at all the little small details. But the devil, the purpose for him looking at the details is so that way he can spread his propaganda to make you believe the wrong thing using the truth. It's the weaponizing of truth in the wrong ways. And I think that right there, like you said, that's, with the job situation, what are they going to say? Or what are they going to, and put you on a guilt trip.
Exactly.
A guilt trip to where?
It would be a guilt trip. To me, it would be a guilt trip back. It would be a guilt trip
Backwards. Never forwards.
Never forwards.
Yeah.
Because he said he lays a stumbling block.
Yeah.
What do you do when you stumble? You either fall down or you fall back.
Yeah. Either fall face first. Yeah. That's good. That's good stuff.
So, I know some people may say, well, some people, I like my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable where I'm at, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not telling you to go look for another job. Please don't
Sure.
do that. But if you are,
Mm-hmm.
This may be, if you're having second thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn which ones is right and which ones is wrong. That's
right.
That's
You need someone in your life, and I like where you took this earlier when you were talking about Achan with the idols and the tents, because there was a leadership that Achan had over him in Joshua as his leader. There's a lot of people that think they can go rogue, that they think they can handle their idols by themselves, that they don't need to be submitted to a man of God, that they can discern the difference between anxiety and conviction by themselves with their Bible in hand, which I'll agree that the Bible's a powerful tool.
exactly.
But the Bible says it says they overcame him with the word of their testimonies. And by the blood of the Lamb, and they love not their lives unto the death.
Exactly.
That does not come without spiritual submission to your leaders, without submission to someone who has walked that road.
Exactly.
That does not come with, you don't have that doesn't come without that proper discernment that is handed down through a mentor or through a pastor or somebody that exemplifies that for you. Now, I'm not saying you can't be the anomaly or the catalyst and you can do things despite your faith, but my point in saying that is it's when you consider that it's by the Spirit and it's by truth and it's by community. We're not to forsake the assembly. We're not to seclude ourselves, because that's when we are most vulnerable to only seeing anxiety. We need examples. We need to visibly see people worshiping and praising God on the regular to understand that we can live triumphant.
Yes.
It's when the enemy tries to divide us. It says that when they were in the upper room, they were all with one mind and one accord, but we forget this third one, in one place.
Yes.
They weren't Zoom calling each other. They weren't, let's tune into the live stream. They weren't, and I'm not knocking any of those things. I think that there's a great outreach ministry and all these kind of things.
Yes.
Somebody listening to this is probably on a stair climber, elliptical. There's someone else that's half asleep taking a nap somewhere. Someone else, or they're doing something just completely different. That's fine. That's the nature of this. But we're not to forsake the community of believers worshiping together, reading the Word of God together, group Bible studies, all of this, because you're surrounding yourself with triumphant people that are going to call you out. Dad preached one time about the Achan heart, our Achan heart,
Yes.
our heart like Achan, who had all of the idols, who had all of the, I'm not too cruel with him, because idols tend to accumulate over time if you don't address sin.
Yes.
I think that's all our story. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We've all sinned. But the point is, you need to surround yourself with the believers that live in spirit and in truth, that lift holy hands, not because they're perfect hands, but because they're made holy by the blood of the Lamb.
Yes.
So that way you can see it. Like, you can visibly see it with your own eyes and say, I can be, and they challenge you. And I don't think people like a challenge like we used to. I don't know about you, I like a good challenge.
I do too.
I wouldn't want to arm wrestle you right now, but I like a good challenge.
Well,
I give it my best shot.
at least you try.
At least I tried, right? I like a good challenge, but people don't want to be challenged by other people.
Exactly.
If I wanted to get tough, I'd hang around tough people. That's why I hang around you. I want to be.
Well, I appreciate the uplift. I appreciate the uplift.
I wouldn't want to surround myself with people like me. That would get on my nerves really fast. And that's what we do when we enclose ourselves. We on the same page there?
Yeah. You find, as they say, misery loves company.
Oh, and we make good company if we're miserable, I guess. We can relate to ourselves.
Exactly.
I can relate to that guy in the mirror. He looks like me, acts like me, going through the same thing. Yep. And he doesn't even require me to change.
Exactly. I can be myself. I can hide in a shell, and I don't have to express nothing.
Yeah.
I don't have to say, because if me and you was going through a hardship, a hardship, me and you could relate. If it was the same hardship, me and you could relate, and me and you could sit here and talk about all the bad things.
Yeah.
And that's what I think anxiety in a definition itself holds as far as for a child of God. The devil wants to put you in that place of anxiety where it's like, oh, well, as my pastor, Brother David Poole, says, the doggone Looney Tunes said, wowsy, wowsy, woo woo, it's a miserable day, everybody. You never seen the dog happy.
Yeah, you never do.
Because to me, he let himself, we never saw the good things. Never,
not once.
And to me, instead of talking, the good things, say, me and you both are hurting, same situation. Brother, I know me and you are hurting. Let's me and you encourage each other.
Yeah.
Just like David said, and this is one of the ones in 1 Samuel 34:6 said, and David and the people, then David and the people that were there with him lifted up their voices and wept unto God, and they had no more power to weep, when they had no more power to weep. But and I should have wrote the rest of it down here.
That's 1 Samuel
34:4 and 6.
1 Samuel 34:6.
Yeah.
I got
and it says chapter 6, and it says David and David was greatly depressed.
Yeah.
And the people spake of stoning him.
Yeah.
Because they had lost everything. They had lost their homes. They had lost all their family, all their cattle, everything. This was a prime example of what anxiety is in the Bible.
It was complete distress.
Complete, utter distress, chaos. There was no order.
But can't you understand it?
Exactly.
I mean, it's relatable. We're not sitting here pretending like we hadn't been through that.
Exactly.
We're not sitting here saying, maybe I should have said this sooner in the show, but to those that are still listening, make sure we understand. We're not saying that, we don't experience anxiety.
Exactly. It happens every day to everybody.
Everybody. Anxiety is something we have to tend to every single day. Yes. But how did David tend to it in this verse?
And it says, and the people grieved every man for his son and for his daughters. And I'm sorry, I should have wrote it all down. That's my bad.
Well, I got it right here. So it says, in David's 2 hours, let's see, you said 1 Samuel 30, 4-6?
Yes.
Okay, it says that David was greatly distressed. It says, for the people spake of stoning him because of the soul of all the people were grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God.
Yep. And that right there, to me, is the best. If you surround yourself with God, God is gonna lead you out of that.
Yeah.
Out of the anxiety. But he uses it through conviction.
Yeah.
To me.
But wait a second. I thought David did this of his own strength.
He did. But where does he get his strength from?
Oh, that's well said. That's it right there. Yeah.
Because me and you can have physical strength all we want to, but our physical strength is not gonna help us through the spiritual battles.
Yeah. That's okay. So
my help cometh from the Lord.
We read that and we say, man, if I could be like that guy.
Exactly.
But he has the same strength that we can draw from.
Exactly.
He's drawing from the same well that we draw from.
Exactly.
When we call on Jesus' name.
Just how bad do you want it?
Oh, that's good stuff. How bad do you want it? So if you're feeling a little off, the people of God know how to handle anxiety. That's a fact.
Exactly.
Why? Because Jesus was also a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He knows what you're going through. You can run to his name. Pick up on that great gift of conviction. Let it lead you exactly where you need to go. I'm Cam Smith. This is the Apostle Pulse. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Man, I love you, bro.
Love y'all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for letting me be on the show.
Man, thanks for the merch. Look at that. That is sick. Let's go.